Greetings to all of you, this is Dr. Lisa, and today we will start a series of lectures about IR theories. In this regard, we will be starting from idealism theory, which might not be directly relevant to international politics realm nowadays. Yet it is essential to know about the main ideas about this theory, because it has its own contribution to international politics, and you have to acquire an overall knowledge about idealism. At the same time, it will be a starting point for the coming theories. So get ready and let's start our talk today. So as I mentioned in the introduction, today I am going to discuss with you the idealism theory. First, we have to understand the atmosphere in which idealism theory emerged, that is after the First World War, which as you know has ended with the victory of the Allies, the defeat of the Axis powers, and signing the Treaty of Versailles in 1919. So idealism theory coincided with the establishment of the League of the Nations to avoid reoccurrence of wars between states and diffuse international conflicts before they explode. We can also say that it was inspired by US President Woodrow Wilson's school of thought, which is known as Wilsonism, especially the 14 principles addressed by him. More importantly, the concept of self-determination, decreased armament, and the role of international organizations. Some of the key figures of idealism theory are Leonard Woolf, Gilbert Murray, Norman Angell, and John Hobson. We can also find the roots of idealism in the writing of some philosophers in the 19th century, such as Jeremy Bentham, when he tried to crystallize many idealistic concepts into principles, such as when he suggested that the ultimate goal of legislation and public policy is to promote the greatest happiness to the greatest number of people. We can also mention another figure, such as James Mill, Hegel, and Plato in his famous work Republic, in which he detailed exposition of political and ethical justice and its account of organization of the ideal states or city-state. Accordingly, we can define idealism in international relations as a set of ideas which counter wars, conflict, use of force, and violence, and advocate the reform of international system through adopting reason, education, morals, values, and compassion, in order to create a new world where equality, happiness, peace, cooperation, and prosperity is available for all states, irrespective of its power, space, and population. Since we have talked about the background and historical roots of idealism theory, let's shift now toward knowing how idealism contributes to IR field. Well, idealism approach in IR tries to answer the question of how the relations between states should be, how international politics ought to be, how should international relations work in order to eliminate conflicts and achieve international peace. Therefore, idealists believe that morals and values should be inherited in societies till it becomes highly entrenched at the international level and becomes part of the decision maker's policy. Accordingly, conflicts don't reach to a stage that leads to war eruption scenario. So we can identify some of the basic premises of idealism theory as follows. Idealism looks at the future from an optimistic lens, stood for eliminating war and conflicts, ending poverty, injustice, inequality, and oppression, disarmament, and finding a commonwealth to build a peaceful and fair world. So the highest moralities and values can be found in idealism approach to find a unity of mankind. You can notice also that idealism has given a vital role to the international organizations in maintaining peace, international law, and securing peace, prosperity, and development. International institutions considered the international framework for maintaining peace and security and settling conflicts by peaceful means, as idealism recognized the limitations of the state in doing that. So idealism, or as some might call it, utopianism, gives a vital role to moral values. Accordingly, the actions of the state should be judged according to these morals, ethics, and from a legal aspect as well. Idealism sees that human nature is essentially good. So the main interests of the state and individuals is cooperation, peace, and human welfare. From this point, we see how the idealists focus on the ethical standard of war, peace, disarmament as a tool to achieve the stability, international peace, and security. Given that the process of arms race and war are serious threat toward peace and security. The international government is essential to adopt common values and general principles. And since war is an international problem that requires collective efforts, which activate the role of international organization to strengthen international peace and security. Accordingly, cooperation and coordination between states will enhance security and peace efforts. At the same time, will weaken humanitarian endeavors of some countries to wage a war. Idealism focuses on resolving international disputes by peaceful means, such as mediation, negotiation, and international arbitration. Accordingly, dealing with international conflicts and disputes from ideal perspective is done through international institutions, such as the League of the Nations previously and United Nations. In that sense, it replaces the anarchic nature of international system by maintaining international peace and security through political channels, such as judiciary, mediation, negotiation, and arbitration. Having said that, let's see now the most prominent critics to idealism theory. The first limitation we can talk about in idealism theory is that it contradicts the reality, because it doesn't look at what it is, rather than how it should be. And this view is too idealistic to be practically possible. Idealism clashes with the national interests of the states, as its ideas exaggerate the demand for giving priority to values and morals over the national interests, and decreases the importance of power and security in favor of harmony of interests. The problem with that is that such kind of policy is impossible to be implemented in an anarchic system, and it doesn't help in understanding the current even of the world politics, because it doesn't depend on reality, but rather talk about the ideals, values, and morals. The biggest criticism came from the realists, which we'll be talking about the next lecture, where they saw that utopian writers are overly optimistic that humankind could overcome the surge of the war, whereas the outbreak of the Second World War in 1939 confirmed the inadequacies of the idealist approach to study international politics. We can refer also to A.H. Carr's work, The 20 Years Crisis, which published in 1939 as a critic of the idealism theory as well. By that, I will be concluding my lecture for today, in which I had spoken about idealism theory, the background, most prominent figures, most important ideas, and some of its limitations. I would love to hear from you. Do you think that idealism might become applicable in the future? Is it still possible for a state to have a commonality of interest and harmony? Can we still acquire a world where equality, justice, and peace are the prevalent values in international politics? Let me know your opinion in the comment section below. If you believe in what Bernard Russell has said, that a world full of human happiness is not beyond human power to achieve. See you next time.